What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. Pennell here. We're breaking down our first road course race of the NASCAR season. We're heading off to the Circuit of the Americas over in Austin, Texas for the EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix at COTA. And while super speed races are fun, and they have been fun, but I'm ready for a nice change of pace. Now, while I'd like to be at an oval, I will settle for a road course. Now, they can be very, very boring, but they've been all right for DFS and betting purposes the past couple of seasons at the very least. But we'll have to wait just one more week, and then we'll head off to Phoenix for our first short track of the season. But anyway, if this is your first time here, what's up? My name is Pennell. I break down NASCAR DFS each and every single week on this channel. Videos on Saturdays, live streams on Sundays. I'll answer any question you got. Just come in, hang out. Always a good time. And this is a data-driven channel. Everything I do is just based off of numbers, emotions, feelings, gut feelings. They aren't real, and they're not going to win you long-term when it comes to DFS and betting. So if that sounds good to you, do me a favor. Make sure you leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel if brand new, and let's dive right into it. All right, let's talk some strategy here for COTA. If you are brand new to NASCAR DFS, we have had back-to-back super speedways, and now we're off to a road course. So we have left and right turns this weekend. We have yet to visit a normal track, like an intermediate like Vegas or a short track like Phoenix, which are coming up, and I cannot wait for that from a projectable standpoint. The road courses tend to have the same kind of drivers up front almost every single time. Now, there's only 95 laps this weekend, so if you do some quick math, let's say there's 100 laps, you times that by 0.7, we're looking at roughly around 70 dominator points. Subtract a few, we're in that 65-point range for dominator points available to us this weekend. So obviously not a lot, but if you compare it to the last couple of weeks when we've had 200 and 260 laps, it might seem like a lot less. But at the same time, we can actually project fast laps to a degree here at a road course where the guys up front are typically getting those fast laps. And it's not just completely distributed around the entire field. And if you're wondering what the track actually looks like, here it is. This is the entire layout. Now in 2022 through 2024 and the next gen era, we have ran this entire course, but they pretty much chopped it in half this week. So we used to have less laps. Now we have more, close to 100 like we just talked about. And instead of going all the way around, we're turning around 6-7 here, and we only get that little amount of space, which I'm not a big fan of. I don't know why they're doing this exactly, but either way, it's what we have to work with, so it's no use complaining. And backed by popular demand, and by popular demand, I mean myself, because I like doing it. But this is just a nice visualization. Like, looking at numbers on a chart are fine, but when you can actually visualize it, I think it kind of helps you understand it better, at least for some people, depending on how they learn. Be a little bit smaller sample sizes, so keep in mind if you think something looks a bit off. But these guys in the top right, they have the best average running position. They have the best driver rating. That's typically where you want to be. And it should be no surprise that who you see at the top, Tyler Reddick. He's been incredible in the next gen era road courses. Chase Elliott has yet to win. In Gen 6, he was completely dominant, could not be stopped. And people kind of think he's washed at road courses, but that's simply not the case. I believe he's at the top of the board as far as dominator points are concerned. He's right up there for average running position, average driver rating. Like, he has been really good. He's been close to winning some of these races. At some point, it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen this time, but he should certainly be in the mix. Ross Chastain's been incredible at COTA. Michael McDowell's been great at road courses. Same with Chris Buescher. I feel like every single time since next gen, they're always around $7,000, $8,000. They start in the top 10 and make some tournament plays, but they just end up paying off. SVG, he's up there as well. Larson, Bell, Byron. It's a little bit lower than what I've imagined, but all the good road course racers, for the most part, in the top right. I thought Ty Gibbs would be a little bit higher. I guess the sample size is somewhat lower. He's had probably a couple poor races that are going to kill the averages a bit. This does not mean Ty Gibbs is a bad road course racer. Like I said, sometimes you have to take in context of what you're looking at. And then the guys on the bottom are pretty much basement dwellers that we would expect, but do not be surprised if the guys you see in the top right here are the guys that are the early contenders, early favorites after practice and qualifying takes place on Saturday. And finally, moving on to the driver by driver breakdown, I do have to mention one thing first. Gotta do my plugs, guys. It's a free video. Gotta feed the dog. But if you want to join the best NASCAR DFS community out there, link is down in the description or the pinned comment for the Patreon. If you are a new user, you can sign up completely free for a week, test drive all the tools out, and hopefully you like it, and you can stay if so. And I won't bore you to death with everything we have on here. If you want to pause it and take a read, you can certainly do that. But we've definitely taken a large leap as far as efficiency and just overall projection data and everything I do offer. But the big major addition is the contest simulator. Most sites are going to charge you an arm and a leg. Mine's much more affordable, and I cover it for Cup, Xfinity, and trucks. Everything I do now, it's not just the Cup series, it's for all three series. And being able to simulate the slate out before it actually happens is just such a powerful thing to be able to do, because obviously depending on what kind of contest you were in, you can change what kind of contest, the size, field, and it'll give you different ownership projections of what you should expect in the field, win rates from certain drivers, which lineups like will be best in tournaments. You can hand select your favorite ones, export it to DraftKings, see your usage if you are selecting multiple, Just absolutely awesome. I highly recommend to come in, check it out, and I really think you will find value from it. All right, so practice and qualifying just took place. Got lots of interesting data from that. We did have 2 practice sessions. I pulled the second practice since it's the most updated stuff. I also think looking at qualifying would kind of be a good measure, looking at more so a third and final practice session, because this is when these guys are giving it all they have and trying to put down the best lap possible so they can get that track position. So I think it's another good indicator of who's got some real speed. But if we're looking at the practice data here, try to zoom in a little bit, you got to keep in mind some of these guys did not run too many laps in the second session. I do have the number of laps here if we're looking at the overall lap data, and I am excluding these obviously big outlier laps. Hocevar was at the top, but he barely ran any laps. But he did back it up with a good qualifying session, so it does seem like he does have a pretty decent car. But have a big Hendrick Motorsports show here with Larson, Elliott Byron at the top of the list. Alex Bowman's right there with them. Ryan Blaney was much quicker in practice than he was in qualifying. He's pretty deep in the pack. Chastain, Bell, typical road course guys. SVG is pretty far down here, but he did not run that many laps. And his one, he did have a nice hot lap down there, and obviously he qualified well, so I don't really have any concerns. He has a great car, so that should not be scary. Like I always say, guys, we can look at data, but we need to know context behind some of these things, because you can't look at something like that and just think, oh, well, SVG sucks, I'm not playing him this weekend, because that's just simply not the case. So we'll start with the 9K group first, and obviously all these guys are going to be good at road courses, so they're going to be very interesting in tournaments. And just from eyeballing it here, there's really no one at the top, as far as the top tier drivers, that really stands out as a absolute must play. This guy is going to be the uber chalk. I have not yet run projections or anything, so hard to say for me so far. So I'll try to answer those questions on the live stream tomorrow, and the ones that are on projections tonight over on Patreon, you'll get access to those. But just eyeballing it here, since road courses don't offer that many laps led points, dominator points in general, the guys that start mid-pack typically, that have race winning potential, are always going to look super interesting. And those guys here are going to be William Byron and Christopher Bell. We looked at practice. William Byron has a very strong car, and he won this race last year. He's been very good at COTA. He's very good at road courses. He looks like one of the top plays on the slate. And then Christopher Bell, another guy very good at COTA, probably could have won this race last year if Ty Gibbs didn't hold him up at the end. Another guy that, just like William Byron, we have race winning top 5 potential. They're starting mid-pack. That looks excellent. And if you're looking for lap leaders, Tyler Reddick on the pole put down a great Q lap. Him and Bubba Wallace just followed him and ended up getting a really good lap as well. But we know Reddick is good here. He's won in the past. If you are looking for a main lap leader, Tyler Reddick is probably our best choice. SVG, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, find tournament pivots off of Tyler Reddick. Their projections are all going to be very similar, because the dominator points, there's just not enough of them for really to make it too much of a differentiation. And it's hard to say one guy's going to completely dominate the race, because we have stage breaks, guys that get put back in the middle of the pack. Things are going to fluctuate a bit. Reddick would be number 1 for me, at least on the eye test, for being the top dominator, but there's other guys that are not going to be that too far behind. And I think Elliott's probably an excellent tournament play. We talked about it in the strategy portion, but he's been really good at road courses, just hasn't gotten that win. But it would not surprise me if it does happen very soon, if not Sunday. Dropping down to the 8K range, we do have a big chalk monster here in Austin Cindric. Actually, just a really good range here, because Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, Austin Cindric, Bowman and Buescher specifically have been very good at road courses, and Cindric's not a bad road course driver either. He's great in Xfinity Series. He had some really good finishes in the Cup Series before. If we head over to his numbers, and we'll look at Buescher and Bowman as well, which is very consistent road course drivers. Buescher, I think everybody knows, he's just arguably the most consistent road course driver there is in the next gen era. 7.5 average finish, good running position. He has just been incredible. 12 races, 10 top 10s, 11 top 15s, like starting 24th. I assume he's going to project very well and be popular. Alex Bowman's also been great at road courses. I like him a lot, and Austin Cindric. So if you're trying to go for a balanced build, if you just want to play those 3 guys specifically, and I'm not saying there's not other good 8K range players, I mean, drivers, I should say, Ty Gibbs, Chastain, Zilich, Allmendinger, like, this is a really, really good range. Like, I always talk about that for road courses, where you don't always have to go super top heavy, because with the lack of dominator points, these mid-range plays can absolutely crush. And just on the eyeball test here, 8K range looks fantastic. I'll probably be living in here for the most part. But Bowman, Buescher, Cindric, excellent cash game plays, and just in general look like really good plays this weekend. And then, like I said, Ty Gibbs, Chastain. So there's really not much to differentiate. They're all going to project very similar, but it's going to be in the top end of the board. Like, if we cut the board in half, they'll be in the top end of good plays. We know Ross Chastain has arguably been the best driver here at COTA. Bowman right there with him. It's a small sample size in the next gen era, but Bowman has a 3rd place average finish. Ross Chastain at 4, Ty Gibbs at 6. Like, this is just such a good range here. I mean, if you're just trying to go balance, I really like it quite a bit. Zilic will be interesting. I am assuming he's going to just completely dominate and win the Xfinity race. Maybe that bumps his ownership up for the Cup race. Obviously, young talent, but he's a phenom. He's incredible, and I cannot wait to see him in years to come. Who knows? He should be absolutely incredible. Starting in 14th, there's definitely upside here, but obviously this field is much tougher than what the Xfinity Series field is going to be. Dropping down to the 7K range, Ryan Blaney. Penske in general just didn't qualify too well. I believe Logano, 23rd, 25th for Blaney, then obviously 36th for Cindric. There's really only up to go for Cindric, so he'll definitely be very, very high owned in cash games tomorrow. Blaney is okay, but I'd rather just get the Cindric. Personally, he was one of the faster Ford car. I think he actually was the fastest Ford car in the lap by lap data in practice too. So I assume there's going to be top 15, top 20 potential, but there's other guys that are priced right by him that have similar upside and have just been better at road courses. So I can't say I'm going to get to a ton of Blaney, but he will be in the pool. On FanDuel, he's really cheap at $6,800. He's almost $2,000 than Buescher. While I don't expect him to perform as well as Buescher, still a nice price discount if you're looking for a cheap play. Kyle Busch and Yellow Suarez, I do like them at the road courses. They should be fast, but not a lot of place differential upside here, so very risky tournament plays just because the path for Cindric and Buescher and Bowman are just so much easier than Busch or Suarez. They basically have to finish top 3 or win the race, which is possible. But if I'm probably only getting to them in, say, 20 max, 150 max contest. Michael McDowell in Next Gen era has been just right there with Chris Buescher as one of the most consistent road course drivers. But this week, it doesn't seem as necessary as it has been in the past starting at 16th, because we're not going to be hurting for salary too much. And if I can just kind of live in that range right here, I don't know if I'm going to have to get to McDowell. He'll be a tournament play. I like him more than Chase Briscoe, but it doesn't seem like a big priority this weekend. He'll be in the tournament pool though. Logano, kind of the same thing as Ryan Blaney, where they're probably in the top half of the board, but it's nothing I'm rushing to get to. Denny Hamlin's qualified a bit too high for me. Did not practice very well. He hasn't exactly been the greatest at road courses in the Next Gen era. I'm probably going to have to pass there. Same with Carson Hocevar. It looks like he's going to be fast, but starting in 4th at $7,000, there's a lot of risk there and just not a whole lot of upside. If we're looking at floor ceiling projections, the floor is probably going to be one of the lower ones on the entire slate, and the ceiling, you're just kind of capped too much because we can't really expect Hocevar to dominate, and then the finishing position potential with place differential mixed in is just not that great. Like winning the race, roughly around 50 points probably for him, but it's a tough path. And we would have to expect him to most likely finish outside of the top 5. Brad Keselowski is a spin machine at road courses. I'm assuming that's probably not going to change. He was slow in practice. All the RFK cars are basically on pace for qualifying, but just during the race, I don't really trust Keselowski too much. But Wallace starting in 2nd, that seems like almost an impossible play. Can it work out? Maybe. The path is almost impossible. I really doubt he's going to be in the optimal lineup. I mean, Bubba Wallace is just not the greatest road course guy. He has been getting better, but to expect him to finish better than top 5 is really tough to do. Gilliland and other guys are starting too far up for me. Cole Custer, he's playable. I probably will end up with more Cole Custer than I would with guys like Todd Gilliland or Bubba Wallace, maybe even Brett Keselowski. Custer, in the past, I know in the Xfinity Series, that's obviously not a great comparison, but he had some good road course runs. His one COTA race, I believe, is when it was raining and he went right into the back of Martin Truex Jr. But if we expand this to a 6-race sample size, average finish 17th, running position of around 17th, like not the worst in the world. So starting 30th, I don't hate him as a cheap play. Zane Smith starting in 20th, kind of high for me. I think there's upside for a 15th to 20th place finish, but just seems a little risky for where he's starting. Justin Haley, I feel like I'd rather get the Haley. Personally, he was 15th, 17th in practice, starting in 29th. Not the worst road course guy in the world. He should be able to gain spots. Josh Berry starting in 35th. This is probably going to be an appealing play to a lot of people, but I have a hard time kind of trusting him at a road course. I believe it was COTA last year where he just completely just didn't turn, ran into everybody. Then we have a 3-race sample size where average finish to 31st, running position 25th. Like, sure, if he does not wreck or spin, he should be able to gain some spots. But, I mean, someone's got to finish 35th or worse, and he's definitely a candidate for that. Same with John Hunter Nemechek. I'd say they're very similar as far as, yeah, maybe they gain a couple of spots, but there's just some guys that have to finish back here, and they could very well be them. Austin Dillon, not usually a fan of the road courses. I don't see myself playing him in 27th. Noah Gragson starting in 17th doesn't seem great. Ryan Prix, slim top 25 upside, but I don't love it. Ricky Stenhouse starting in 22nd, most likely moves back. Riley Herbst, he might be the best back here. So in practice, 20th in the 1 lap, 15th in the 5. If we look at his overall lap data, I believe it wasn't completely horrible. If I can find him. Yeah, Riley Herbst was 12th in the lap by lap data. And we have to keep in mind, I know he's starting 31st, but I believe he was right there with Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick as far as speed, but his time got disallowed. It was like a 23:11 party up front, so he did have speed, just ended up having a penalty. So at $54 and 31st, I think there's definitely upside for sure. Eric Jones is usually slow at the road courses. He showed that in practice. Ty Dillon, 19th in the 1 lap, 20th in the 5. Like, that's not horrible. Starting in 34th, though, I mean, we can't expect Ty Dillon to do too much, but if there happens to be some carnage, sure, he can move up, but I think I'd rather take a chance on Riley Herbst in a 23:11 car than I would Ty Dillon personally. And then Cody Ware, he's really bad at road courses. I left him off the chart that we showed in the strategy portion just because he was so far down. It was kind of ruining the aspect of it, the ratio, but he's been not a good road course driver. He's the worst average running position, one of the worst average finishes in 29th. And while at COTA, it's only a 2-race sample size, has an average finish of 26. That's not just because he's running well or anything. It's just guys wrecking out and he grabs his finish, which can that always happen? Yes, but it doesn't really seem too necessary. With that being said, I think that's all I got for you guys this week. So hope you enjoyed. If you did, even if you didn't, make sure you leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel for brand new. If you want to check out all the extra content, you can do so using the link down below in the description. Hopefully I'll see you all in the live stream tomorrow afternoon, but I wish you all the best and I'll see you all next time.